So excited that everybody is here. I really, really am. I love these opportunities to be able to share and to be able to connect and to be able to teach and tell people that if you're here and you're with me now, like me, you're a person that is always looking to grow, always looking for more, really looking for love. That's really what we're looking for. And I'm just going to jump right into this webinar and start sharing with you, because I'm so excited about what we've prepared for you. I think it's going to be informative. I think you guys are going to really benefit and get some great tips out of this webinar. So thank you so much for joining me, and let's go. So the first thing that I think that we can all feel is true is that from the moment we've been born to wherever we are right at this moment is we've all desired love. We've all wanted this feeling of love. We've wanted it from our parents. We've wanted it from our siblings. We've wanted it from our schoolmates. We want it socially. We wanted it at work. We want to be loved. We want this feeling of love. And not just that, but this sense of love is all around us. We read it in books. We watch it on, in movies, TV shows. It's just something that is so around us. It's something that we truly, truly desire, but not many people really know how to achieve. So the question I really want to ask everyone today, do you believe that having a high level, passionate relationship is reality or fantasy? I'm curious to know what you're thinking. We watch these shows and we see people in love, and we see people taking walks on the beach and having a bottle of wine and going to wine countries and traveling to Paris. Is this a reality or is it fantasy? Now, if I'm being honest with you, and I'm married now for 22 years and have 6 children, I can tell you that it's not always at the level that we want it to be. But can most of the time be that? My answer is absolutely it can. It can be that for most of what our relationship is. And let's be truthful and factual. We have work. We have responsibilities. We have life around us that we own. We are responsible. We have to take full responsibility for our lives and our families. And it's not always, hunky-dory time or beautiful time, but it's the way that we interact that I want to discuss with you. It's the way that we are with one another while we're having those discussions of responsibilities, while we're planning something for our children. What schools do they want to go to? Or what we feel is best for them? Do we want to move to this new home, or what? These conversations are always so difficult. And there is a way, and I'm looking forward to sharing that with you a little bit later on in the webinar, of how we can still hold on to that closeness and hold on to that love that we have for one another while we're discussing real responsibilities and going through difficult times sometimes in our lives. I think we'd all agree that when we first met the person we fell in love with, and if you're in a long-term committed relationship, at the beginning of the relationship, it is energetic, it is exciting, it is something that we just want more of. And that is actually the reason why we decided we wanted to spend more time with this person, because of the energetic connection, because of the vibe, because of the feeling. And we wanted to make that feeling last. And it's true that those feelings are always the highlights, the deepest joys that we can have in our lives is usually the most personal, intimate relationships that we have. But on the flip side, and this is where we start talking about what really hurts, and it hurts in my heart, it hurts me emotionally, it hurts me spiritually when the person that I love is not loving me, or I'm having a difficult time. And it's our deepest pain. It is absolutely our deepest pain. Nothing hurts more. If you think about the relationships you might have with your parents. Now, therapists have made billions of dollars over the course of decades because of relationships with our parents, our siblings, and our spouses. Those are the most, personal relationships that we have. So it can be our greatest source of joy, but also can be the deepest pain that we share. And it's important for us to identify why relationships are so difficult, why love is so difficult. It's so difficult because our greatest fear in life is not to be loved. It's, do I deserve love? If you're dating, and you haven't found that person, am I ever going to meet them? Do I deserve having that one person in my life? And if you've found them, how do I keep them? How do I keep our relationship at that level where I feel like I'm enough in this relationship? And if you're married or in a long-term committed relationship long enough, you've felt the pain. You've felt the shift in the relationship where we go from crazy about each other to making each other crazy. And that it really brings up our biggest and our most fearful moments is, will I be loved? Am I enough for them? Will they love me? And that's one of the reasons why we avoid telling the truth or possibly coming into conflict when we have things that we want to discuss and communicate to our partners. What we end up doing is we avoid speaking our truths because of the fear. And a lot of the times we repress it. I mean, we shove as much as we can under the carpet until it becomes a small little hill and you can't avoid it anymore. And those feelings grow. When you're repressing feelings and you're holding those feelings back, they grow. And what ends up happening, and if you've been in a relationship long enough, it's happened to you, because I know that it's happened to me, is that we start playing the blame game. It's your fault. Well, what about the time that you forgot to pick up the milk? Or what about the time that you spoke to me in a disrespectful manner in front of the kids? And then we end up arguing and debating. And those arguments and debates turn into fights. And when we're usually fighting, and like I said, if you're in a relationship as long as I have, it's true for you as well as it is true for me, is that we end up arguing about two specific things: what the truth is, and we start having some litigation about what the truth is and what happened, and that's true and that's not true. And the other thing we don't really like to admit, but what we're really arguing about, if you pay attention to the discussion you're having or the fight or the argument, debate that you're having, is who's the bigger victim? Well, you think you're hurt? Well, how do you think I feel? And all that does is really, it discounts and disqualifies the other person's feelings. And that's not going to get our relationship to the level that we want it to be. It's not going to give me that feeling that I am craving, that love that I'm craving inside of my heart. I just want to have love. I just want to feel comfortable. I want to feel safe. I want to feel that I'm not judged. And I just want that unconditional love. And well, if you're in these patterns, and I have been, if you're in these patterns, they're not going to get your relationship. It's only going to deteriorate your relationship, and you're going to grow more frustrated, more angry, and you're going to fight and argue more, and that pattern is just going to continue. So I want to ask you a few questions, and I want you to take some personal responsibility here. I want you to look at yourself and say, how am I showing up in my relationship? How am I coming to this relationship? Am I coming in playful, or am I, moody all the time? Am I frustrated all the time? Am I giving those, one-liner jabs, or, and those types of feelings in a relationship? Are you compassionate with your partner? Do you show that empathetic feeling and being compassionate, understanding? Or are you judgmental? Well, that's just stupid. How can you do something like that? That wasn't smart. I can't believe you did something like that, and jump to judgment. Are you loving? Are you in a place where you're loving them? Are you thinking about them? Or are you actually being selfish and thinking about What can I get out of this relationship as opposed to me loving them in the way they need love right now? And finally, are you accepting of them, their faults, their mistakes, every idiosyncrasy that they might have? Do you accept them, or are you critical of them? Well, you could have done that better. I can't believe you did something stupid like that. Again, it's that judgmental or that critique that you bring into the relationship, and take ownership of that. Look at how you're showing up in your relationship, and that is going to directly affect the way your partner is going to symbiotically respond to you. So take accountability for that. And I want you to do that first. And like I've been telling you, and if you've heard my story, I'm not going to go into that story here at this webinar. I've done it on other webinars, that I was there. I know exactly what it feels like to be frustrated and angry in your relationship and feeling like I'm never going to have the relationship that I want. I want more out of a relationship, and right now I'm just stuck in a loop, and I'm not going to be able to stop the patterns or break the loop. And it's the reason why through all the challenges of speaking to people about relationships, because let's be honest, it's the last thing people want to talk about. Nobody wants to admit they have a problem in their relationship. And if we are honest with each other, as we discussed, if we're fearful about not being enough, we're not going to confront our biggest fear. We're going to try to hold that back. We're going to try to avoid, and we're going to try to find escapes from that. And could be work, it could be fun, it could be friends, it could be drinking or alcohol or drug abuse, it could be anything at all, it could be video games, it could be anything to avoid facing that fear of possibly never having that level of love that I want. Now, I want to share with you guys, and pay attention, because listen to what is it that I'm really trying to share with you. There's two huge mistakes we make in our relationships. Number one is we have expectations, right? We have expectations. And if our expectations aren't met, we will live with extreme disappointment. Give you a simple example. You've had a hard day at work, and you're expecting that your partner is going to have dinner ready, or they've ordered it out, or whatever it is, and you get home and the dinner's not on the table. How are you going to feel? Well, what if it's responsibility with the kids? What if it's responsibilities with paying the bills? What if it's the responsibilities of, taking leadership in family matters? If you have expectations of your partners and those expectations are not met, you will feel extremely disappointed. And I always say, if you can trade in your expectations for appreciation, that will change your relationship completely. Instead of expecting from relationship, what should I bring? What are my responsibilities to this relationship? And appreciate the other person for what they do, because I'm sure you can find things to appreciate. We like to pick at the little things that they don't do, and we seldom actually point out the things that they do and appreciate them for that. The second biggest mistake that we make in relationships is our mind has shifted from what am I giving in this relationship to what am I getting out of this relationship? What do I get out of this relationship? And we turn everything towards us. And relationships aren't a place where we go get things. We don't get things out of our relationship. We go to give things in our relationship. We're there to give our partner so that we can make their lives easier. We can make it safer for them to struggle with whatever they're struggling with, that they have a safe place to come home to and to be able to share. So those are the two biggest, and remember these two things and write them down. Expectations, trade those in for appreciation. And relationships are not a place you go to get things. It's a place where you go to give. And your problem in your relationship is not you or your partner. I know we always think that if he would only change or she would only change, then that would change the relationship. It's not true. It's your perspective of your relationship. It's how you're showing up in your relationship. How am I there for my partner? How do I see them? Do I have the capability of seeing what they're feeling in their lives? What's their daily schedule? Are they sitting in traffic? Are they taking care of kids? Do they, have to clean the house? Are they concerned about how they're going to get the bills paid? Think about the other person and what they're going through. Your perspective, not through your own lens, but the lens of the other person, is completely going to shift your relationship in dramatic ways. Today, on this specific webinar, I want to talk to you about the C&C method that I use with my clients. And it really, if you take every issue you have, whether it's finances, whether it's kids, whether it's intimacy, whether it's any type of issue that you might have in your relationship, it's going to come down to two things: communication and connection. Because if my communication was better, we can actually resolve our issues. And if my connection was better, I would have more patience with my spouse or partner to be able to get the results that I'm looking for. So communication and connection is key. And if you really think about it, if you really give it some thought, your communication is what creates your connection. Think about when you first were dating. When you sat across a table, either dinner or a walk in the park or whatever you did, you went bowling. And what you did is you were connecting verbally. That communication is what gets us excited about our connection. It's why I want to be with you. So getting our communication right is the most important piece for us to be able to deepen our connection. The most attractive thing, if you're having intimacy issues, the biggest issue is that you're not connecting. You're not feeling like you understand me, like you get me. Because if you get me and understand me, I want to spend more time with you. I want to reach over and I want to touch you. I want to hug you. I want to caress you. I just want to be with you. And getting me and understanding me is the most attractive thing. Now, I know, contrary to what we see in movies and TV, the first thing we see is a person's appearance, but there's so much more to that. Because if you can accept me for who I am and you can connect with me and understand me, that's the real, that's the juice, that's the sauce that really gets us to be attracted to one another. So I want to give you a couple of tips on how to improve your communication, which will improve your connection. The first tip I want to give you today is active listening, right? Active listening. And I'm always going to remind you that these skills are sitting dormant inside of you. These are not new skills. These are skills that you've had since you started dating. You just stopped using them. Listening to what the other person is saying from their perspective. What are the words they're using? What are the emotions they're trying to express? What's their body language? What are those things that they're trying to say to you? Is it a cry for help? Is it a deep wanting for them to, for you to understand what they're going through? What are they saying to you? Actually listening. And if you're listening well, you'll be able to repeat back to them, mirror to them exactly what it is that they're saying, so that you get clarity on what it is that they're trying to communicate. So the other person in that moment says, yes, that's what I'm looking for. That's what I've been trying to say to you. And then continue your conversation, whether you agree or disagree. Once a person feels like you understand them, then you've got their ear. Then you've created that connection through communication that you're looking for. The second tip is we tend to be very afraid to express our needs and desires to our partner. What I need. I know I've found myself telling my spouse at certain times, I want more out of our relationship. I'm not happy with where it is. I want more. I want us to be closer. And whatever that means, to be able to say, it's not you. It's not you, it's me. This is what I need. Right now, I need a break. Right now, I need a couple of days off. Right now, I need you to help me to think about how I'm going to be able to, overcome this current situation. But to express those needs and desires to your partner is very important. And a lot of the times we think they're mind readers. Your partner's not a mind reader. As good as they might be in understanding you, they can't actually read your mind. So expressing it to them, obviously in a loving way, for them to hear you and to understand you, but telling them what your own desires are in the relationship and what you would like from them, and be specific about it. That's really going to help you improve your communication, which again deepens your connection. The other thing that we do, and I touched on this earlier, is we generally argue about who's the bigger victim, or we argue about who's right or wrong. But I want you to start thinking about, how do we resolve the issue? We sometimes get so stuck and frustrated that we want to attack the other person because we're really feeling emotionally or spiritually hurt, that the other, when we come at the other person, we're not actually trying to solve the problem. We're actually blaming them or calling them out on why we have the problem. But that's not going to solve the problem. We need to share and take moments to be able to communicate of, how do you think we can solve the problems? And a lot of the times it's not your perspective or mine, or my truth or your truth, but we have to deal with the other's perspective and truth. And we might resolve our conflict by both parties not being happy or getting the ultimate that they want, but might be able to come to a point where, yeah, that's good enough. And good enough gets us to a point where, okay, we're in this together. And once we're able to communicate that out, that deepens my connection, because now we have resilience in our relationship. We can take care of things together. And it's the together part that, again, is the sauce, is everything in our relationship. I want you to know, I would not be doing this or be so passionate about, my past. I've been in the corporate world. I've been offered a lot of jobs, and I love coaching, and I love this, although challenging at times, getting people to really seek out the help, and people wanting to hear how they can better the relationship, because they do have that fear of not being enough. And what if this doesn't work? Does that mean I'm going to be alone? But I'm telling you, I believe so deeply that your relationship can thrive if you do the hard work, if you change your patterns, change your perspective, start appreciating, start listening and communicating, that you can truly deepen that love that you have for one another, and rekindle and respark it, so that you can enjoy your life. And the quality of relationship is always going to be equal to the quality of your life. Our intimate relationship, you could think about it, when you're in love, you're kind of dancing around, you're kind of shining, you're glowing, nothing really matters. Traffic doesn't matter, because you're happy. And that's the type of love and relationship that I'm talking about. Not the fantasy movie where, you're crazy and your hands are all over each other all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is true connection, true love, true unconditional love, accepting them for who they are without being judgmental or critical of them, so that you yourself can share that. I want to offer to everybody today that's listening to the webinar, I'd like you to go to calendly.com/Jemal coaching. And there I offer a free discovery call. There's no charge for it. I do it myself. I get on the phone with you, and I love learning more about you. I love finding out what's going on with you and how I can help. And if we're fit to work with one another, that's great. And if we're not, I hope to be able to give you as much advice and as much help as possible. If you decided to continue and work through with me. There are so many other areas that we have taught and we can discuss. There's differences between men and women. It's a vital piece of information that we're not the same. Our operating systems are the same. How do we fill our emotional needs? Both men and women have emotional needs, different emotional needs, but how do we fill them for our partner? How do I rebuild trust? If you've gotten into a situation where you've lost trust, reliability, and you don't feel safe in your relationship, but you still love this person, how can I rebuild that? How can I rebuild that lasting trust, right? How do we resolve our differences? We don't see money the same way. I want to spend money. She doesn't want to spend money. Or, I want my kids to be able to, have this freedom or take this job, and you don't think it's safe. Those are issues that we need to resolve. And most importantly, once we resolve the communication, it's how do we resolve the connection? How do we get to a place where we now feel safe to be vulnerable and open in our relationship, which will restore the intimacy in and out of the bedroom? So those are some of the things that we work with couples on. And, like I said, if you're able to shift your perspective, you're able to get to a point where, you start taking things into heart and take them from unconscious to conscious. Play at a higher level, play at a higher level, because you can achieve the level of relationship that you want. It's not your circumstance. It's not the person that's there. It's your perspective is off. And you're just making some key mistakes that everybody makes. Psychology today says that 17% of people are happy in their long-term relationships. There's a reason for that. And it's also an easy fix. So I look forward to you booking that call and reaching out to me. I look forward to talking to you. And I really want to thank you for being here with me on this webinar. It's been my pleasure. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you and for you to listen. I look forward to speaking to you soon. Thank you very much.